Hi everyone, Corinne Arby here with Broken Ground, and I'm here with my former students turned friends, Jamie and Niall, who took my Resilient Homestead Program 3 years ago, and we're in their backyard and we're going to take a tour of their small suburban homestead. But maybe just before we take that tour, I'd love to hear from both of you why you wanted to take the class.
Well, we took your class shortly after we moved to Montana from California, and we had lived in apartments before then, so hadn't tended to land, much less land in winter. So we knew we needed to learn something. And then also just really was following your Instagram and your approach and was impressed. We signed up after we got $1,000 as a wedding gift from his uncle, and that helped us just kind of, say yes and sign up for it.
Awesome, and make the investment. That's
Yes.
awesome. Niall, do you want to say anything else about?
I think really what we liked about the course and the course offerings was that it was going to do everything. I think because we were such novices, water capture, planting, looking at food forest, like all of those things were new to us, and so I think it was a really great opportunity. I'm also really fortunate that it was during the winter as well, because I think after the first week we would have ran out and planted a tree in exactly the wrong spot and would have learned that and had to work around it. So being intentional and getting to spend some time and really map out where the sun came up and all those things, which are all things that we learned through the course, really helped chart and become, the space that we have now.
Amazing.
Do you remember what we first were planting in the backyard? So we inherited or bought a property, the suburban backyard. It was all grass with 2 chokecherry trees, and so I had sketched out like nice planters around the outside edge of our backyard. And when you take the tour, you'll see those are the areas we've done the least amount of work around. So I feel like you saved us a lot of money and time by the whole systems thinking and encouraging us to pause and really pay attention to the sun of our backyard and just the whole systems thinking that goes into your program. So.
Awesome. That makes me so happy to hear. I do say, it does save you time and energy and money.
It's
and
true.
It's nice to get that feedback. So that's great. So let's have a look at your amazing yard.
Okay.
All right. So maybe let's start here with this beautiful pond and water feature.
Yeah. A big part of what we started our planning around was just how to use water. And so we, this was in year 2 that we actually dug and built this, but we built a pond. And the pond is fed by rainwater from our roof. So there is a spot here. Do you want to describe, Niall? You're the mastermind behind this. But.
Well, it's just this is actually overflow we had the plans for future gray water to come in from the washer and then also from the sinks. That's been a phase 2 project we haven't fully developed. But so what's here is there's actually a T within this valve, and one of them will go from the gutter into the pond, and then the other one actually goes into this mulch pathway. So the pathway is kind of our overflow for when we have too much water, and we just got a ton of water here recently. So it's actually set up to go this way and kind of help feed the plants and the trees and all the area over here, but also to act as an overflow.
Amazing. I think this site is such a great example of maximizing water capture on your site. And Niall has become kind of the go-to person for other students in the Bozeman area in terms of setting up water capture systems. But having the water go into your pond and then overflow into this area of your garden is amazing. So tell me a little bit more about what you have going on here, and I'm going to back up to give people kind of a full view.
What we did first, we planted an elderberry here, and it has taken off. There's a plum tree here that we planted as a bare root, and a honey locust that just lost its leaves last night with the frost. We've got a honey locust and then another plum tree here. And so we wanted for the water from the pond to help feed those trees. And then here is all strawberries and some clover, mostly. There's yarrow back here that we planted with harvested seeds. Comfrey from your yard. And a lot of flowers back here with calendula and sage and some volunteers. This rowan bush here was volunteered in the yard at the same time that rowan was born.
Oh,
exciting.
That's so sweet. And he seems to be enjoying it. So you have kind of a mini food forest in this area. This is how big is this lot? It's kind of like a typical suburban lot.
Yeah, I think it's a quarter acre.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and we have a bit of a funky shape with like it being on the diagonal back, so it gets wider in this back space. We also planted currant back here, which we're trimming our choke cherries to get some more light.
Nice.
So that's our back corner. And then in front of that is our sunniest spot. Here we've got this covered from the frost last night. First frost.
I know, and we were a day late in doing this video because everything got nipped. It was a pretty hard frost.
But we have 6 annual garden beds here, and so we've just kind of alternated every year with what we've been growing. Often lots of tomatoes. And we experimented with bell peppers, which did well, and eggplants, and while they're wilting now, they did well.
They just imagine that yesterday they looked amazing.
Swiss chard, we've got some beans here, and nasturtium. There was garlic there earlier in the season. We've got more tomatoes. There's kale back there. This was garlic. We've got squash growing for the first time back here, along with more tomatoes. There's more tomatoes and basil under here. We just went heavy on basil.
Nice.
With our son being a year and a half this summer, we were trying to keep it as easy as possible.
Yeah.
So.
And that should be, said here that it's been 3 years, but you also had a child in this amount of time. So you've done an amazing job in terms of implementation and having your annual garden really close to the house. This is where their deck is, their back door area right over here. And then having the annual garden, then moving into the food forest.
Yeah.
Niall, do you want to show us the water capture system that you have?
Yeah, so around the corner, I think Corrine called this the zone of accumulation, which I think is a good way to describe all the things that you kind of want to hide from day-to-day view. But we installed, I think in the first year that we were here, it was originally 4, and then we expanded it to 6, so it's about 300 gallons of water, again, just fed right off of the roof. They fill very quickly. I think definitely in this environment we get a lot of really big downpours, so you get a lot of water that comes in early. So these will be full. We'll use them throughout the summer to just help supplement the water within the garden. We put drip irrigation into during those time frames when we're not able to water it by hand, which has been a really nice thing that we've added. But it's been great, really low maintenance, really easy to put in, and yes, this has become the pet project of mine. And now that I've struggled and figured out all these strange PVC fittings and things that the local hardware store has, served as kind of a resource for others. So we have that.
And these were also just 55-gallon barrels that you were able to procure for free.
Yeah. These were all secondhand. Our former next door neighbor was a brewer, and has access to all this stuff. These are all things that would have gone to the landfill, aren't recycled here in Montana. So these were things that we're able to put into use in operation and use for years to come.
Awesome. And I love the addition behind you of just a tool area that's really close to the garden. That's amazing. And the bird boxes that you built, right?
And so chickadees were in this 2 years ago. There's another feeder on the other side. I think, chickadees were in the other one as well. I think another thing we've noticed too is just like how many bugs, how many birds, how many things in our first summer here. This was nothing. I mean, this was just all grass. Nothing visited, nothing stayed around. And I mean, we've had 6 or 7 different types of birds that will either nest or regularly visit. the backyard and just the fun different bugs and things that we've seen and none of this would have been here when we had the lawn before. So
Yeah, that's what's so amazing about creating these spaces. And you've not only, you have your water capture, you have your annual garden, and then you have that kind of multi-layered food forest, and then the pond. So all places all things that make it a bird-friendly habitat, in addition to giving you some food. And then the final thing, we just want to keep an eye on little Rowan there in the background, is you have some compost bins as well right over here.
yeah, and the compost we put in the first year, and again, this was actually all just donated pallets that we assembled into a compost setup, and we've had pretty good turn on it. In the winter we'll stack up all of our food scraps, add whatever leaves we'll accumulate from outside, and then by the end of the season we'll have a fresh load of compost that can get spread. So that's been a nice system.
Yeah. And this is a work in progress. We're mulching
Right.
more grass.
Every permaculture practitioner needs a bit of cardboard in their yard
We have a
to make
stack
it
of cardboard
legit.
in our yard or in our garage at all times, ready for the next project.
But it's great, it's
great.
found and free stuff, both
Yeah.
the 55-gallon barrels, the pallets that you're using, the cardboard that you've used, and the wood chip that you've gotten
Yeah.
for free as well, to establish a little mini ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of expenditures, like what we've spent money on is mostly a couple of Cashman trips with plants, but that's not all. And then, of course, every year we get starters from Amalthea, because we don't have patience to do that ourselves. And, the small supplies that help hook up some of the stuff we've gotten for free. But I think the biggest thing we spent money on was the pond.
Yeah,
So.
and the rocks in the pond. Right?
Yeah, I
rocks
think
in the pond.
the stone one, I think was the thing that probably single cost the most. But I was also going to say that the Bozeman City rebates for water for
Yeah.
removing grass too, because again, this was like 1,000 square feet of grass that we took out, and and they're willing to help compensate up to a certain amount, and so that has
Maximize
actually
that.
really helped us reinvest a lot of that money into doing some of this stuff too. So it's actually it's been a lot of time, but I think financially it's been between those two things, it really hasn't been that significant of an investment.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I think for a lot of people, just because not a lot of people have a lot of capital to begin with. So.
Yeah. One other thing I would add is just how much our son loves spending time in the backyard. When we've told people our plans for the backyard and how we want to rip out the grass and turn it into garden area, people are look at us very concerned about where will Rowan play, and we found that the spaces where he spends the least amount of time is actually on the grass. We do have a patch left, but he is often here throwing rocks into the pond and interacting with the pond safely. We definitely keep an eye on him. But also he loves running around in the garden, looking at the bees, picking tomatoes, picking flowers, watering all of the plants with us when we're out here. And I feel like he's just gotten so much more out of our backyard than he would have if we hadn't developed the space in this way.
Yeah, that is so amazing to hear, because I do think, like we had been talking about, that whole idea of nature deficit disorder with kids, and the fact that this yard, even though it's a small space, gives him 1,000 different things that he can do and ways in which he can interact. So that's awesome.
Yeah. He loves it.
Yay. Anything else that you want to say or show in the yard?
I think a lot of what we got was from, or what we have planted here are coming from seeds that we got from classmates, or from the plant swap through Broken Ground, the calendula, the bachelor buttons, and comfrey and everything. So I think participating in the class pays dividends.
That's great. That's great to hear. Well, thank you both so much. Anything else you want to say, Niall?
I was just going to say that I think not only is it a class, but it's also a community too. Is what is created from Brooklyn Program, which has been amazing. I mean, I think some of our friends, some of the people that come over and watch Rowan for us, are all people that we did the permaculture class with. You know, it's more than just a class; it's a community that Brooklyn Graham is trying to build, and you know, it's really fun to be a part of that. And I think we're honored to be a part of that.
Oh, wonderful. And I am so happy that you're part of this community. So thank you so much.